Welcome everybody, this is Lost in Plot, and today we're doing a spoilers discussion of Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Yep, Ghostbusters Afterlife. What else can I say? I said a lot. I buried this film last in my review. I gave it a 2 out of 10. Wade dodged a bullet. He hadn't seen it at the time, so it was just me kind of giving my review. A lot of people seem to like that. It has a good audience score, especially from the exit polling from people leaving the movie theater. I can't say anything good about it. I don't know. How did you feel?
Well, guys, after he absolutely dismantled this film, I thought I'd come back in and be the voice of reason and try to restore it to its luster and see what the audience is seeing. And I gotta tell you, guys, this movie's a piece of shit. I'm sorry, okay? I love Ghostbusters. I love the original Ghostbusters. I think it is witty, it's funny, it's amazing, it's a fantastic movie. It's worth every moment of your affection and your interest. This movie is not, by comparison. This movie is a pale imitation, and I hate to tell him that he's exactly right, but this is bad fan fiction to a T. Now, to that end, I think I understand why people like this movie, because it doesn't actively deconstruct or tarnish the original Ghostbusters. It doesn't make you feel dirty for having liked that movie, like this awful 2016 Ghostbusters movie, which we both hated to death. The 2016 version of Ghostbusters. It's not that movie where it kind of destructs the mythos of the Ghostbusters and makes you feel like an idiot for having paid so much attention to it originally. No, it's reverential. It pays homage to that Ghostbusters movie, and it does so in a pretty nice, poignant, touching way. The problem is everything else that they added is total garbage and really just kind of amateur hour in terms of the storytelling, in terms of these basic characters that are set up in a first act that never pays any single one of them off. They don't add anything to the Ghostbusters experience or to the Ghostbusters mythos and lore.
So that's why you think people out there are liking it, because it is so reverential of the source material.
Yeah, because you know what? I like Ghostbusters too. I love it, in fact. I'm with you, but this doesn't scratch that itch for me. This is just somebody took another movie that looked to be like this awkward teenager coming-of-age story set out in the middle of nowhere and slapped it with a veneer of Ghostbusters, thinking that it all would be all it would take in order for me to plunk down my money and go ass crazy for it and say, like, oh my God, it's the most amazing thing that's ever been released. Forget it. That's not enough. You've got to do better.
So fan fiction is someone who really likes the property, and then they just kind of write their story set in that same world, borrowing those bigger characters, but then injecting kind of, usually it's themselves, into the story. So that's what fan fiction is. It's like writing yourself into something that you really enjoy and like, and that's just what it felt like for me. The Phoebe character, who's just kind of meant to be a young Egon, and then her older brother, I don't even know much about the older brother, why he was even there.
I mean, how would you describe him? You just say, well, he's kind of awkward.
I described him
and he really likes
a goofy teen who wanted to work in fast food.
He's chasing that ass at the 50s diner. He really likes this girl, and he wants to get with her, and that's what it's set up. That's the whole impetus for why he joined the diner to begin with, and they never pay it off. They don't. They don't pay that off. They don't pay anything else off. You know, Paul Rudd's character is a seismologist. They don't pay that off. That never comes back in any meaningful way whatsoever. You know, it's very bizarre, and it feels like they wanted to tell one story, and then somebody came in, maybe it was the studio, and said, no, here's what you're going to do in the third act. Ghosts and Ghostbusters and all the stuff that people like from the first movie. And if I was writing a tagline for this movie and I had to describe it to people, I'd say, look, this is about a group of awkward teens who have to discover their ghost-busting lineage in order to stop the exact same threat that the original Ghostbusters faced in the first movie. Because that's literally the third act. It's the exact same threat that they have to face down.
The exact same lines, verbatim. So if you were a fan writing this, and you got to your third act and you didn't know what to do, well, you'd probably pop in Ghostbusters again and you'd watch that. It was like, oh yeah, I liked that moment. Let me do that moment again. You know, there is no mom, only Zool. Let me write that in there. Let me write the other stuff too, just kind of plunk it in there because I really like Ghostbusters. So you're not really taking it forward, you're just kind of saying, I like Ghostbusters and I wrote a story that's with the Ghostbusters and here's a little bit different. It's almost like J.J. Abrams did this film. He didn't, but it's the same approach that they did for something like The Force Awakens.
It is. And it's such a crappy trend. It's such a crappy trend, and it's so obvious what they're doing. And just because it's better than 2016 Ghostbusters doesn't mean that it deserves a pass. It needs to stand on its own. everything that they added on to the Ghostbusters lore was shit in this movie.
Who could watch the 1984 Ghostbusters and even Ghostbusters 2 after that, and then jump to this one and think that it kind of holds up and is cohesive? Now, it doesn't have to be. It can be its own thing.
Yeah.
But I'd argue it even fails at being its own thing because it's too dependent on the other film. And you're not taking it in a new direction. You just did the same story again.
Yeah, entirely so. And I mean, we're touching over a lot of the points that you touched in your review. Watch that original review that Jake did because it's spot on. But the bottom line is, this isn't it. Okay, the last thing I want to see is more of these great movies from the 80s and the 90s, amazing films, getting remade with just for no reason other than, well, you're going to come to the theater because you know this IP. You know this IP. It says Ghostbusters. You know what it is. We've made some lame excuse to reincarnate it and throw it up on the screen, and you're going to go watch it. Like, we've got to be a bit more discerning with our tastes and more demanding of these studios than to give us this trash, because it doesn't scratch the itch for me. I know it's been successful, so we'll probably get more of them, but I mean, come on.
Deserve better.
Basic level.
Deserve better.
You do. Deserve better. Demand more.
For those who feel like they might be missing out, we'll go ahead and throw the spoilers at you because this is our spoiler discussion. Yeah. So anyway, they go out into this small farm town where Egon has died, and he's left them the house, and they realize that she's the granddaughter of Egon, and she finds a Ghostbusters trap in the floor. And after they play around with it and they open it for some reason, they let out the Keymaster or the Gatekeeper from the original Ghostbusters, right? Because Zool is coming back. Apparently, Zool tries to kill the whole world with every 20 years. Something like that. Every 30 years, Zool comes back and tries to kill the world. And the Ghostbusters...
Gozer's the deity.
Gozer.
The Sumerian god. Gozer's the deity.
Gozer the Gozerian.
The two henchmen, the Keymaster, the Gatekeeper. All the same stuff you saw from 1984. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, the Ghostbusters stopped it in the first film. I don't know who was stopping it all the previous times.
Nor do I.
But anyway, the Keymaster and the Gatekeeper have to be together, and that's the only way you're going to get Gozer back. So when they let the animal out of the trap, it's able to reunite, bring back Gozer, and then it's basically the third act of the original Ghostbusters film, as they have to stop Gozer the Gozerian. And the dogs take over the kid's mom, and they take over Paul Rudd, and it's all those same plot beats happening again.
Same score.
Same score, and then they lure it into the farm where Egon has set a trap. He's literally set hundreds of traps buried in the dirt as a way to capture it. And that's how they finish it off. The original Ghostbusters show up. The ghost of Egon shows up because Harold Ramis passed away, of course. So movie magic has brought him back to kind of put his face up there and yank in some emotion in that final act. Otherwise, you'd have none. So that's what they're playing.
And again, very reverential to the first Ghostbusters. Obviously, they like the first Ghostbusters. So do I. We have that in common. I just don't like everything else that you added to it. Particularly Phoebe, who's apparently, she's the source of the story. And she's the least interesting and charismatic of any of the characters that they've got. And that's really saying something because the bar was set so low here.
And in terms of launching the franchise, I don't really... Maybe they have plans for where it would go from here and who the new Ghostbusters would be. I assume Phoebe. I assume Podcast. Probably Phoebe's older brother and the girl that he likes.
Who knows? Because none of them really have any special skills other than Phoebe, who has all the skills that really she doesn't need anybody else. She could be the only Ghostbuster.
Other than that, they're just a bunch of little kids that are strapping on a proton pack and, going out to zap some ghosts. I mean, kind of like fan fiction.
And that's the other thing. It's so fan fiction. Like, come on. How was she? Was she 12?
Your guess is as good as mine.
Do you know why 12-year-old children don't wear proton packs or put them together? Because they probably hurt themselves or blow something up. Like, come on. Like, have a little bit of... Like, this is ridiculous. Oh, the 12-year-old, she knows how to pick the locks, and she knows all the things about the proton packs, and she knows more about seismology than the seismologist who's her teacher in summer school. Like, get over it. Like, 12-year-olds don't know everything in the world. That's because they're 12. All right? So to act like she's some prodigy who knows everything in the world and you basically made her Sheldon Cooper from The Big Bang Theory and that's your in, like, get out of here. that whole idea as a concept is a complete joke. Though geeky whiz kid who knows everything.
Agreed. It was
Give me a
played for
break.
jokes in the original Ghostbusters. Remember how good the scene was when they turn it on in the elevator and you basically run around with a nuclear accelerator on your back and then they go and blow up the ballroom? I mean, that's how you do it right.
Yeah, here you got a 12-year-old who's hanging out the side of Ecto 1 and she's shooting all of downtown with that thing. And it's just, I mean, come on.
It's enough.
Get out
It's
of
enough.
here.
It's enough already. Do you
All
have
right.
anything? Do you give it a number?
2 out of 10 for Ghostbusters Afterlife. I'm not a fan of this film, guys. I don't like it in concept. I don't like it in execution. I still like Ghostbusters. This didn't tarnish that for me, so that's good. But come on now. This
Something.
is not worth people's time.
No, it's not. Hope you enjoyed this spoiler discussion extra review for Ghostbusters Afterlife as we're heading into Thanksgiving. You're thinking about going to see it. Maybe we kind of help you with the decision before you go. But
Heck, maybe you love this movie. There's so many people out there. Let us have it in the comments section down
tell
below.
me why I'm wrong. 'Cause
We
I
can
don't
take
understand.
it. We can take it.
Yeah.
Guys, check us out on Twitter, like and subscribe. We're going to see you all on the next one. This has been Lost in Plot.